My only legacy is Cobra Kai.
He's making me look like the bad guy when he's the one attacking my family.
Cobra Kai is not the problem. It's silver. Imagine how easy it's gonna be to wrap Cobra Kai East around both your kids.
You heard it up top, and we got a question for you. Are you Eagle Fang? Are you Miyagi-Do? Or are you Cobra Kai? On another special episode, on our 4th episode, covering the Karate Kid franchise once more here on Normies Like Us with your host, the return of Karate Colin.
Hey, Mike Barnes, bad boy karate, you know.
Hey.
Back too.
And this is the Mongoose. I'm back. That's my karate
redemption
nickname, the
story.
Mongoose. Yes. As everyone knows.
That's right. We got everybody's back here talking Cobra Kai Season 5. And weirdly, one of the still I consider best written shows on TV. There's a lot of high-profile stuff out there. Rings of Power, House of the Dragon, right? Andor is coming soon. A lot of high-profile TVs coming. She-Hulk Attorney at Law. But this still, to me, is one of the strongest things, and I'm very excited to be talking about it with you guys today. Back in the dojo, anyway.
Yeah, you said all those things, and it's like, what are we looking forward to on this podcast? Well, the real normie heads know. If you're an OG listener on this podcast, you would hit that search button right now and see 7 months ago, we just talked Cobra Kai Season 4. Before that, we did an awesome Karate Kid episode, a Mike pick, where we went through the entire original trilogy. And before that, an awesome 1 through 3 Netflix picking up Cobra Kai episode, just the two of you. Wow. This is a franchise we love, boys.
Yeah, and I am so glad that it is doing so well. I mean, we did get news of a movie, you know, sticking to the potential 6 seasons in a movie thing. So hopefully they don't jump the shark. But Jacob, what do you think about the movie announcement?
Well, yeah, I was read a little bit about that. The show runners of the show said basically that has nothing to do with the show. So I don't know why they're even making something like that, unless it's a sequel to the Jaden Smith, Jackie Chan movie. But...
All right, buckle up, buckaroos. This franchise is getting fucked just like everything else.
No.
Yeah. So I would just ignore that movie, but the show is great, obviously.
Absolutely. We're very excited to be talking it. I think there should be no more delay, you know? Strike first, no mercy, right? Let's get into it. Just hop in the dojo, find our balance, right?
Hi.
And do this thing. Kari.
We're back, and as we said once more, we are talking the Miyagi-verse, as Mike has called it in the past, and I believe the show creators as well. But Cobra Kai, the Netflix quote-unquote original series, JK, it came from YouTube too, kind of, wink, wink. YouTube Red used to be a real thing.
Yes.
Weirdly resurrected from the bowels of the failed YouTube Red, YouTube Premium predecessor. I watched it on there, as we said in earlier episodes. The first 2 seasons, I think, were on there, and then
amazing.
You went away.
Yeah,
Cobra Kai fan from the beginning.
OG YouTube boy, being like, "Yo, I use this service. These shows are good." We were like, "Mike, that's crazy."
The only reason I got it was for that show because I was, you know, a lifelong Karate Kid fan, diehard fan. You know, it's one of my favorite movies of all time, easily my probably top 3 favorite individual movies ever to come out.
Now,
so I'm loving it.
Mike, if you could go back to the first time you watched those movies as a kid or whenever you first watched them, and you could tell your younger self that one day you would see Johnny Lawrence, Chozen, and Mike Barnes team up in defense of Daniel Reluso, you would lose your mind, right?
It would blow my freaking mind, especially if you threw in not only that, but they would be up against John Kreese and Terry Silver once again. Yeah. And I did stake the claim. Karate Kid 3, Terry Silver, most underrated villain in cinema history. And we're so glad that he's a focal point of this season.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a treasure to have it. So, yeah, they're a little bit older now, you know, but it's great to have it. And they're doing a great job so far. I mean, it can get a little ridiculous with where are the adults. But other than that, it's a great little show, and I think I really enjoyed season 5. I binged it in one night. Colin, how did you kind of go through it?
Amazing. I do want to hear that. That's a great question. I did it in pieces. I had said in our last Whatcha, I believe the episode before this, that there were some scenes that made me get a little emotional. Since then, since I finished it, Mike, I cried twice, got teary-eyed once, so we'll
Wow.
talk about all that too. But I did
Man.
it in pieces, but was definitely hooked.
Gotcha.
Well, this
Jacob,
is
how
kind
about
of
you?
the season of like old enemies coming together, right? So there's a lot
Oh
of
my
like,
god.
man, these people are finally getting all along. It's great. But yeah, I kind of watched it in pieces like over the last week because I didn't want to blow it all in one night. I wanted to stretch it out and make it last. But it started a little slow for me with the Mexico stuff. That wasn't my favorite subplot. But once you got past that and into like the real meat of the season, I thought it was great. Yeah.
Yeah, I have heard some people say, oh, the first 3 episodes or so, a little bit of a slow start, but I tore through the whole thing. So by the time we were there, we were just off to the
Right.
races. But this will be full spoilers for Cobra Kai seasons 1 through 5, Karate Kids 1 through 3, the next
Yes.
Karate Kid, anything.
Entire Miyagi
Yes.
verse. Yeah.
Again,
Yeah.
it feels so complicated to talk about because it seems so big to us. Because Mike, I feel so tapped into like everything that was happening to this. I was like, of course this is what's happening. Or when Jacob was texting us of, wait a minute, this person is connected to this. I had already
blew my
previously
mind.
texted Mike. They just got to Cleveland. I'm screaming.
Uh-huh.
So, I
Uh-huh.
mean, it's just this. There's a lot I don't even know how to do it. I say let's save our rankings for the seasons for the ends because
Yes.
I want to know how you feel about this thing, but I don't want anybody to tip our hands of whether or not this was the best, this was the worst, or anything like that. Thought it was a good season. Let's just start there. How about you guys? There were some standouts for me. We'll go through the plot, but
Yeah.
I never thought, given how little we talked about Karate Kid 2, that Chozen would be like my favorite character
Such a
on
great
this show, like an
character. Yeah.
outstanding character.
And truly, I think the most incredible thing is that they get these actors that played the original characters back. Like you said, Mike Barnes, the bad boy of karate. Like imagine being in a movie in the 80s and then getting a call 30 years later to come be on this Netflix streaming show.
People aren't movie stars. They're
yeah.
they're like you said, they're in one little scene, but it's like, whoa, if we're gonna get Mike Barnes back, it's gonna be the guy who played Mike Barnes, and we have
Right.
to very honestly service that character. You're like, service the character that the silly guy in Karate Kid 3? That's crazy.
Mhm.
Yeah. The attention to detail of the original 3 Karate Kid movies is just insane. Like that they, this world works so well. The MCU, I call it the Miyagi connected universe.
Yeah,
That's the real MCU.
the
to
Miyagi
me.
Cinematic Universe. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that's great. The amount of callbacks, again, being like a super fan, it's like, oh man, I forgot. Yeah, Daniel's wife is from Ohio. That makes perfect sense.
what?
Like,
a
when did
thing
they
to
plant
just
that
slip
seed in
in.
season 1? Like, how long has that been sitting in the stew? You
Right.
know what I'm saying?
Right. They're just like, in season 5, we're going to introduce this character, which we'll get to.
Yeah.
I want to talk a little bit about the beginning arc. So we have Miguel going to Mexico to find his father, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought this season started a little slow because of this, because it's kind of this random. It's almost like they set it up last season. They're like, well, now we have to like show him going to Mexico and all this stuff. And it is cool to see like Johnny and Robbie going down to Mexico, and the bonding basically between Johnny and his 2 son figures is great, obviously.
We'll get into that. I
Yeah.
like that a lot this
And,
season.
yeah. If you would have told me we get Johnny Lawrence versus Kano, I would have been pretty stoked about that, because that Australian guy who bugs with that's Kano from the bad Mortal Kombat. But he's the
Amazing.
best part in it.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the father, like the actual father character to Miguel, was like very strange. Like I thought that was kind of a weird subplot where it's like he's like this weird, I don't know if he's getting into drugs or
Mike,
what.
what would you guess his father's job is?
My guess is it's something related to cartels, and he
Yeah.
knows politicians that he's bribing off, and he also, he has a side gig of he also likes underground fight rings. That's just that's not where he makes the
Right.
most of his money. That's just a little side hustle, I think.
And you get a
He
little
knows these guys.
UFC versus karate, right? And Johnny Lawrence does not like UFC.
Yeah, which
gotta
I
show
don't
him
know if
karate's
that
the
would
real
turn out the
badass.
way.
No, probably not.
And that's Eric
No.
Anders, a UFC fighter. He's like the Wolf or whatever. And
Wow.
just shout out, I got to meet him once at a military graduation for the Marines, and he's the younger brother of the guy graduating. So shout out Eric
Dude,
Anders.
that's awesome.
Yeah, very cool. So
That is
we also
cool.
get Tyrone Woodley in this, is one of the Tang Sudo senseis. So a couple UFC stars getting in the mix here, as well as Kane.
Oh,
Was
right,
he
yeah.
Eye Patch Guy, aka my second
I
favorite
wish.
character this season?
No, he was Sensei Odell, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Sensei
okay.
Odell Beckham
Sure.
Jr.
Yeah, exactly. But Eye
But
Patch
yeah,
Guy
after
is
we get
great.
past
But so to pull,
Yeah.
we'll touch on Mexico, but also pull from the MMA world. We're not just getting callbacks to Karate Kid. It's kind of like, hey, man, you like UFC? Here's some, even those kind of martial artists, because I bet they like these movies. They're like, hell yeah, put me in Cobra Kai. Like, I'll do a
Right.
cameo. So anyway, Jacob, Mexico. Little slow,
Well,
though,
I am
perhaps.
Yeah.
I am pro Jacob's point of little slow, but as I had kind of said off air, or maybe I even said in the Whatcha, the plot that I was most worried about them doing was we have to get rid of Miguel because Zolo is a huge
That's
star now. He's going to Blue
yeah.
Beetle.
Yeah.
Didn't end up happening. I was very
No.
pleased with that, Jacob.
That's exactly what I thought, like the cliffhanger of last season of like, oh, he's going to Mexico. He's being written off the show, essentially, at least for this season. But turned out, no, I guess maybe they thought the Blue Beetle shooting was going to conflict with their schedule more or something. But
Yeah.
I'm glad it didn't because he's obviously one of my favorite characters. And he's kind of the heart of the whole show. But yeah, I think the Mexico stuff wasn't their best writing either. I think this show's well written most of the time, but that just seemed like very weird that he just, goes to Mexico, finds this random guy that has his dad's name, and then like gets invited to their house to like stay for dinner,
Yeah.
just like this guy just invites him into his life for some reason. It was kind of little out there, right?
You like save the kid from traffic. You got to suspend
Yeah.
disbelief. It's like you're literally just running around Mexico looking for someone named like Javier or whatever. It's like,
Yeah.
Super silly. First moment I cried, let's say, the wrap up here when he's on the phone with the mom and Zolo is crying, saying, like, I should have listened to you. He was a bad guy. I don't think this is good. Honk, honk, sees the lights. It's Johnny Lawrence's car. He sees his dad, quote unquote, get out of the car. He takes a breath and he says to his mom, I'm going to be home soon. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
I found that to be devastating.
That was great. Yeah. And
yeah, that was excellent.
just having Robbie and Miguel, who've obviously been enemies since season 1, right? And the two
Broke his back.
Yeah.
Paralyzed him.
They've gone through a lot together.
Yeah.
But they're the two son figures of Johnny Lawrence, and he just wants them to get along. And, Johnny Lawrence, I love the evolution of his character since season 1. He's really grown a lot, right?
Yeah, and as we've discussed on the earlier seasons in the Karate Kid episode, there was that meme video that said Daniel's the real bully, and Johnny was in,
Right.
But that kind of has transformed into this 5-season show where Johnny is kind of like the main character, especially in the early seasons. He's more of a main character than Daniel is, but now it's more of an ensemble than ever. But seeing that Johnny shenanigans got you Mexican Coke. I think they're just called Cokes here, Dad. You get little Johnny-isms. It's fun.
Yeah.
It's just a little long, and it does hit the heartstrings when it needs to.
Totally.
I agree with that, Mike. You just hit my problem with this season in particular, the ensemble of it all. There's so many people that they need to service. I do miss the Johnny Anchor stuff.
Yeah, there really is now. Like, it's a huge ensemble, and so many of the OG characters have already gone through their arcs and become like the better person, right? So now they have these newer characters like Kenny and Tori who are still on the dark side, so to speak. And essentially this whole show is just Star Wars, right? And
I
Cobra
think
Kai
about
is
it
the
every
dark
time
side.
you guys saying that. Go back to one of our
Yeah.
original episodes where they just so clearly lay that out. And it is so true. You both are so right on that fact.
But we've
Cobra
had,
Kai's
the
got
villain
blue
arcs.
and red lights now to make it
Yeah.
really obvious.
Oh, yeah.
We've had, Hawk, the villain arc. We've had Robbie. And so they need new Kylo Rens to pull back from the dark side, right? So they have Kenny, they have Tori this season. And I think Kenny, well, I guess at the end he sort of learned his lesson. Maybe next season will be the redemption of Kenny.
And we have that other, that very smart girl.
Yeah.
That they had in
Devin.
Eagle Fang.
Devin,
Yes.
yes.
Yeah, she's getting pulled to the dark side now, too.
And her job this season is just her job for most of the show is just kind of get beat up by the other two main girls in the cast,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
But
she,
I like her.
she's being put into the Kenny role where Robbie is Tori now, where Tori's starting to see that this, she knows that he cheated to win the tournament. So she's like, I don't know about this Cobra Kai stuff. So we need somebody who's buying in that she's trying to be like, hey, you don't want any part of this, do we?
Right.
She's like,
But you guys are talking about, I hate to say it again, but maybe another problem for me this season, which is sort of what is the wrestling parlance that people use where it's like, this person's a body for
The
this
heels and baby face.
jobber.
Yeah.
A jobber, thank you.
Oh,
Somebody
jobber,
who
yeah.
takes
Comes
the
in and
just,
loses.
I'm gonna come in and just take the fall.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Devin this season.
Putting everybody
It's like,
over.
but to a sad degree.
Yeah.
But with Kenny, like, I love what they've done with Kenny, because if you remember last season, he starts out, his story is essentially identical to Daniel LaRusso, right?
Mm-hmm.
Moves to a new school. His dad, I think, is like in the army, so he's not really in his life. So he's like a single parent, basically raised by his mom, bullied at his new school. But unfortunately, his Mr. Miyagi was Terry Silver, so it didn't end up, going that well for him.
Right. What if
And-
Daniel had been able to join Cobra Kai? Like, what if Johnny wasn't a part of that and he went and learned from Kreese the
And then he
wrong
started
way?
bullying Johnny
A
Lawrence.
wise old
Yeah.
man. Yeah. Just
Yeah.
needing that figure in your life. And I'll also say, how lucky are they this season that Kenny, just in between filming, really seemed to go through puberty. He's
A lot
become
more
like someone where you're
ripped
like,
this season.
I believe, yes, a little more these fights he's doing.
And he's
Totally.
one of the better, I think, martial artists of the cast too. Like some you could tell, like Robbie takes it very seriously. Tori's pretty
Yeah.
good. Sam, like there's
Miguel.
a lot of standouts. Miguel, but
Hawk.
it's a good angle, and you also tie in obviously showing how smart Silver is. They're so great at playing his character, right? Because he's like, oh, your dad's in the military. Yeah, I'm military. He knows how to get into someone's psyche, and pull those
Yeah.
strings, and he does that with Kenny, because he has that military kind of
Right.
background too.
And speaking of Terry Silver, let's just talk about him. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is a hot take or not, but I think he's a better, more intimidating villain than Kreese, right? He's more
I told
physically
ya.
intimidating.
Yeah.
Because he is younger, obviously. He's more he's super tall, and he's just very muscular, even for his age, and he's just very physically intimidating to me.
Yeah, and he was actually, a martial artist like back in
Right.
Karate Kid 3, so he kind of he knows the muscle memory, and that, as I said, most underrated villain in cinema history. He is 100% more threatening, more effective, and more dangerous than John Kreese was in Karate
Yeah.
Kid 1. Like, so that shows here too, the way he literally takes over the school and throws Kreese under the bus at the end of last season, because he is the more dangerous of the two.
Totally.
Yeah.
And again, if you remember from our Karate Kid 3 episode, the ages are super weird of what you think
Yeah.
the actors are. Like, Thomas Ian Griffin is actually a year younger than Ralph Macchio, which just
That's
blows my
right.
mind every time I think of that.
Oh, God,
crazy.
no, I can't. Every
Yeah.
time I block that out, stop reminding me of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're essentially the same age, and
But he's Danny Boy.
Yep.
yeah, he was like 27 in Karate Kid 3, so he was just a very baby-faced 20.
Here's why I'm going to date your cousin and not you.
Yeah,
How old
yeah.
is she?
Jessica Andrews was 16. Yeah, I'm going to go
Yeah.
back to Ohio. You're
Yeah, they
weird.
had an 11-year age
Age
difference
gap.
in that movie.
But he doesn't
Thomas
look
Ian
like it,
Griffin.
when you watch it. He does look young, but anyway.
No, I mean, and just the fact that Jacob just called him ripped for his age. So watching this season this time, where obviously the first and second season are kind of a remake of Karate Kid, the first movie.
Mm-hmm.
That third season on Netflix, you get a little bit of the Karate Kid Part 2 stuff, a little more this season as well, 4 and 5. But 3, like Mike said, you're introduced to the real Karate Kid Part 3 stuff in the last season. And then this one, it's like, Terry Silver's our guy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Watching it this time, I am just so disappointed by society. I mean, this actor is so good. The
Yeah.
fact that, fucking Steven Seagal, a guy who can barely put a fucking sentence together,
Right.
got a movie career as a star opposed to this guy. And now, Jacob, did you just watch Vampires, the John Carpenter movie, where he's
I
the
did
villain?
watch that recently, yeah.
Wow.
And he crushes it, even
Yeah, he
back
plays
then.
the main vampire. He's like very
Vatic.
physically intimidating again. 'cause
That's
he's this
perfect for him.
Huge guy. Yeah, he crushes
Widow's
it.
Peak.
And like I said, I think probably in our last episode, related to Cobra Kai, like, I'm just surprised he was never a bigger star like in the 90s. Like, he was a
Doesn't
good-looking
make
guy.
any sense.
He was charismatic. He can act. He can do martial arts. Like,
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense, man.
I don't know how that happened. Yeah, people need to put respect on his name. Hopefully this season gets it done, because we get to see, obviously, to bring the plot back going, the center is Silver. Like, they had infighting in the last season. Now it's fully Silver. He's got the money. He's expanded. He won the tournament. Cheated a little bit. Tori probably would have won anyway, but he's expanding.
That's our bias on this podcast against a certain character that we'll maybe talk about.
Yeah,
if she's the
yeah.
worst or not later, but keep going, Mike. Sorry.
So that's the trajectory of the season. After we get Miguel back from Mexico, how do we stop Terry Silver's new form of Cobra Kai? He's brought in some Tang Sudo senseis, one with an eye patch,
Danny
very
brought
weird.
in some muscle too.
Yep. So Daniel brought Chozen. So that's kind of the thing we're dealing with. But to seeing the way Silver moves, it's so perfect for the way he acts in Karate Kid 3. What do you think about this, Jacob?
He's just very athletic.
Even like the moves he makes, like in the psychological chess game, like it's more than fighting, right?
Yes. Well, first of all, how happy do you think the writers were when they went back and watched Karate Kid 3 and they had that one line where he's like, "Oh, I learned from Master Kim, whatever, the Korean guy," and they can use that single line, throwaway line from Karate Kid 3, pull that into the whole world of Cobra Kai, and now they have this whole like evil Korean lady that's like his apprentice now.
Hey, any average viewer who's like, why is this so serious? These people are good at karate. What are you talking about? And it's like these writers go like, okay, do you think there's any way we can do like a Kill Bill style flashback where we're shown that like they have like the wisest, most ancient master who taught them like how to kill with just like the idea of karate? And you're like, yeah, of course, throw it in there.
Yeah, and his whole philosophy in Karate Kid 3 of like shaping yourself through pain by like punching glass and shit, like turns out that's actually part of a bigger philosophy of this Korean karate style that this lady comes in she's I think the daughter of the sensei or whatever.
We see a little girl in the flashback
who wants to watch, and he moves the pot out of the way and it gives her a wink like, yeah, study this pain thing.
Right.
I also saw this woman, just sorry real quick, Jacob, in a thumbnail on a YouTube video where it says Cobra Kai, go woke, go broke. So I just want to point out fucking morons real quick. Keep going.
God. Sure. And to be a quick errata,
sure.
It's not karate. It's Tang Sudo,
it's a Korean martial art.
Yeah, so to be fair, but they called a kung fu movie The Karate Kid, so I blame Hollywood. But anyway, Tang Sudo, it's distinct from Taekwondo, which is more kick focused, the foot fist way. So Tang Sudo is a little more similar, I guess. It's more fist striking kind of stuff to karate, but so it's its own martial art, but that's neither here nor there. He learned from this Korean master.
It in a black market, Mike. Like I assume it's illegal.
Yeah. You have to only you have to sign a lot of waivers.
But the fact that they pulled this all from that one line of Karate
one
Kid
single
3,
line.
Like I studied under this master and was able to kind of extrapolate that into his whole deal, and then also his bigger plan of joining this like world karate tournament that's going to propel it, karate as this huge sport in America. Like he actually does have this bigger plan for world domination.
Which, yes, Colin, I want to ask you about this because it's incredible to see. Would he have just turned the key on this plan if he won the tournament in Karate Kid 3? Was this always like his end game?
Well, he
we
gives
see in the
that big
flashback,
speech. Yeah, he does give those big speeches in flashbacks. There's gonna be a Cobra Kai dojo in every part.
He was thinking about the Sekai Tatakai or whatever.
Sekai Takai. Yeah.
He was,
all Kreese wanted to do was win the All Valley tournament. That's literally all he wanted to do. And Silver's like,
big
no, we
dreams.
we could have Cobra Kais all over America, you idiot. Like, come on, think bigger.
But then you can see in a flashback too. He's got his ass out and he's like, hey man, you want to fucking go global? He's like, nah. He's like, all right.
Remember,
Johnny
you're my boy, Kreese.
Yeah, but he always wanted to reach for the stars with this. So I think if he wins Karate Kid 3, he would have just enacted this plan immediately. And it would have been very similar to the way it looks
Seems
now.
like it.
Yeah.
I think so. Last thing I just want to say about Thomas Ian Griffin. I don't think this is ever going to do anything for Martin Cove, this show. I don't think it I think like maybe you get like Hallmark, where you're like the grandpa or like something in Christmas movies or something. But, Thomas Ian Griffin, who was never like a person who had substance abuse issues, which is sort of what drove Martin Cove off in, popularity in Hollywood, let's say. Again, I just don't understand. You see these people cast on these Star Wars shows, these Marvel shows, fucking Jacob, however old you said he is, what, 55, 65 or
60.
whatever?
Him and Ralph Macchio are both 60 now.
Wow.
I cannot hear that. Make him the villain of whatever next thing. This guy is so incredibly good. And I just bought it seems like some people are like, this is a crazy plot. Once again, you're fake fans because you have not watched Karate Kid Part 3 then.
Yeah.
No, it's
Because
totally
this is-
in line with his
Totally in
character
line
from
with the
this
tone.
is what this maniac does. And
Yeah.
I would love to hear the writers say, oh, these are the scenes where you can notice that he's back on cocaine. You know, we're not actually allowed to say it because it's a Netflix show, but like
Right.
he blasted a rail and then he
Mhm.
fucking thought he could throw a trophy at Daniel and do karate at him. It's like,
He
no,
did
it is
that
crazy
before
what they
even
can show.
Chozen came over. This is what he did right when the doorbell rang.
oh yeah,
shit.
Kung Pai. What'd you say?
What the fuck?
Right.
Anyway, Jacob.
No, but like what they actually can show in the show is crazy. Like they say fuck in the show.
Yes.
They have
Mhm.
a sword fight where
Yeah,
Chozen
violence.
gets fucked up.
And
Yeah.
this
Fingers
is,
get
let's
cut
say
off.
again, maybe that was crazy. The most popular show on Netflix for the teenage demographic, I believe. They do have those numbers where people are like, why do they dump so much into this? Like when I'm talking to my dad about Karate Kid,
Mhm.
I'm like, you fool, it's the greatest.
It is.
Well, Netflix was very smart to like just like be like, oh, YouTube Red's going under. Let's just pull this show out and just keep the same showrunners and everything and just expand it, and it's been a success, I think.
And Jacob, the difference is on something where Neil Gaiman is begging and tweeting a celebrated author every day, going like, please watch my show and leave a rating. I would love to
Yeah.
make another season of Sandman. Like, how much does Cobra Kai cost? It is like you said,
sure much
people
less,
who
yeah.
should not be movie stars, who are very excited to be in something.
Yeah.
They do karate in like 2x4 sets that are built around them, basically.
Yeah.
It's a TV cast for sure, but I mean, I think they all do a good job in their roles, and I think the choreography was especially good this season.
the best it's been.
Yeah,
Yeah, like, they
absolutely.
really
Even the older
spend a lot
guys
of
fighting.
time on that. Yeah. And I mean, there's some really good battles in this season.
Yeah,
it's a
no,
great show.
it's solid. So we got our villains. We got the daughter of Silver's master is kind of the other running this dojo with him now that Kreese is gone. What about the heroes side? Right, we got Johnny, Daniel, and Chozen now hanging out, and they're kind of figuring out how they can get back. But they can't really
Yeah.
operate their dojo, technically speaking. So that's kind of one obstacle they're dealing with here.
Yeah, and there's a whole kind of plot where, everyone thinks Daniel's kind of going crazy with his obsession to silver, and then his wife goes and visits Ohio, and then her cousin's like, no, like, you don't understand. Like, this guy Silver is fucking crazy.
Yep.
So you
But there's-
remember how I used to tell you that I was so into rock climbing back in the day?
Mhm.
This is the
And
guy
bonsai
who
trees.
tried to kill us. Remember the story about the bonsai trees?
Yeah.
Oh my, that was Terry Silver?
Yeah.
Let's say it,
Listen,
Jacob.
can we
Who is
talk
this
about
woman?
Liz?
Jessica Andrews.
Yes, it's Jessica Andrews, played by the same actress, Robin Lively, who, by the way, is Blake Lively's sister. I don't know if you know that.
I didn't know that. Wild.
Oh.
Half
Older?
sister, but yeah, older. But they're half sisters, but they have same father. But
Right.
Oh, is she also in Teen Witch?
She was, yeah. That was like her other.
I
big
do know
role.
her. Okay,
Yeah.
I do know her.
And yeah, so his wife is like, I need some time away. You're acting crazy. We're gonna go back to see my
Taking the
family
kids
in
with my aunt.
Ohio."
Yeah.
And to
Yeah.
Jacob, the Browns, a flag of
Yes.
the Cleveland Browns as we go past a bar.
Yes.
Browns, Cavs, Ohio State stuff in this bar.
Yeah, I'm like, this is the
Literally-
most California, Ohio bar I've ever seen.
Yeah,
Hey,
definitely
shut
the
the
art director
fuck
was
up,
like,
Mike.
all right, put some fucking Browns posters up.
But
But
yeah,
if
he
you're
gets
watching
that.
our video, literally the poster that I have behind me here, the brownie elf back here, same exact poster that's in that bar.
Which famously is now in the 50-yard line of the Browns field, So there we
Yes.
go,
We
Brownie.
love Brownie
It's the
Elf,
year of
yeah.
Brownie, yeah.
Yeah.
We love that little elf.
We sure do.
But yeah, they go into this
So hold on.
Cleveland-esque sports bar.
You're telling me Daniel, a guy that I used to know, who I introduced you guys to, and I definitely didn't date, but I always kind of liked. And you know me, I've always kind of been around. You're telling
Yeah.
me he's fighting somebody named, what'd you say his name is again? The bad boy of karate, Mark Bonds, and of course the devious Terry Silva? You're like,
Yeah.
wow, you really remembered that weekend.
Yeah, well, I mean, when you get your life threatened on a waterfall by the bad boy of karate, and there's a fight in a
Generally don't forget
nightclub.
stuff like
You know,
that,
you're
yeah.
gonna remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when she came in and they were like, "Oh, this is your cousin," obviously, I was like,
Blew my mind.
blowing my mind,
I
man. This
screamed.
connected
I
universe.
I was more
Screamed,
excited
Jacob.
than like seeing Abomination in like Shang-Chi, right? I was like more excited
Yeah.
than something like that, you know?
Yo,
Wong and She-Hulk.
Chozen's back.
Jessica
Wong? I don't know who
Andrews.
Wong is. Yeah.
Yeah.
So literally, this means that
Kamiko.
yeah,
I just need
Daniel stayed friends with
And
Jessica
Dennis.
Andrews. They stayed pen pals or whatever, and eventually she introduced him to
Now.
her slightly older cousin,
Yeah.
and they eventually
If-
got married.
If you listen to our second Karate Kid episode, which is the one before this, or I'm sorry, our
Yeah.
Karate Kid episode, the one where we go through the trilogy of movies, you will hear me ask you guys in the third one if that is the woman he ended up marrying, and you guys go like, no. Amazingly, he pulls a different woman. Now they honor
He has a
that.
different love interest in every
Yeah.
movie, and then
But
in the
they at
new
least
show.
do the plausibility of like, we know it's been outrageous. We know it's been outrageous. He clearly just asked this girl, it's his cousin or it's her cousin. You're like, yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that does make sense. They've, like Mike said, they brought up Ohio before. They have planted the seeds.
They were just
Yeah.
waiting for her to come back, but it is perfect though. It's like they set up and pay off, even if they waited, because it's just like you said. Yeah. Oh, you're moving to California. You know if you want to hang out with somebody, that guy Daniel. You know, he's a nice guy. You know, he wants to run a bonsai shop. You know, hit him up. You know, whatever. I could see that being feasible. You don't know anybody in LA. I know one person. You know.
Oh my
It
God.
makes total sense, and of course, you know, Amanda would be from Ohio. She seems like a very Ohio kind of person.
She does.
Yeah.
Where was Hilary Swank from? Where does that movie take place, Mike? I guess that's the only other
That-
person it could have been.
Give me a
right?
Probably
minute.
still in California. Well, I mean, that maybe that's the season 6. cameo,
Well,
right?
Did I
so-
mention my sister? And you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, but
No,
Daniel and her never met. She just knew
Right.
Miyagi, right?
Right.
So it's in Boston. It seems like
Boston.
because
So Mr.
Miyagi
Miyagi-
goes
what
there.
will bring our crew to in season 6 to Boston? I wonder.
Or you just got to
Interesting,
bring, you know, Julie Pierce
Yeah.
to California for some reason.
Yeah, they could do it. I mean, they brought Allie back. They can bring.
Here's the
She's
thing.
back.
Yeah.
I want Elizabeth Shue. I want. Is her name Kimiko? Did I say it right? Is that the character's
Kimiko.
name in the second one?
Yeah.
Very
I
close.
want her.
Hamlin Tomita.
Okay. I want Chozen. I
Mhm.
want Mike Barnes. I want Terry Silver. I'm not saying he's redeemed. Maybe he's there in handcuffs. I want Martin Cove. I want
just want
every
them all in the
living
same room.
person. I want all the young Cobra Kai people too. I want them all around a big table just go like, Daniel LaRusso, what a crazy life you have had. And I want that to be the last season.
But that-
season
Yeah,
of Cobra
Terry's
Kai.
getting pulled off.
Yeah,
Oh,
and then he goes to heaven, I would imagine. It's lost or something.
yeah,
Well, so
no.
in season 3, they had, you know, Chozen and
Yeah.
Kimiko, right?
Mhm.
Season 4, they bring in Terry Silver. Now season 5, we got Jessica. Was that her name? And then we
Yep.
got
Jessica
Mike
Andrews.
Barnes, the bad boy
Mhm.
of karate. And every season has just been
It's my
Daniel
furniture shop.
confronting his old rivals and basically just befriending them.
Yeah.
And he's
Should we
got
talk
he's
about
got
I
a-
love that.
yeah,
Mike Barnes? Yeah.
Mike Barnes.
Bad boy of karate. Hey, make a wish, Daniel. You know, the breaker of the bonsai, as is also known, you know. He's back, and I think he's great. He's in it less than I expected, but I think he's used really well. The whole
Yeah, he's more of a
introduction.
cameo, but yeah.
He has a role in the finale. He shows up, you know,
Yes.
Lando Calrissian style when they need him most.
Right.
But I think he's
and,
great.
And so is he hard to get though, Mike? What do you think that is? Or just
Well,
they
he's
just
like a
didn't
soap opera actor mostly. Like he's
really.
like
So he's
after
somebody
Karate
who's
Kid
just like
3, he
still
was on
going.
soap operas and stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like he's in
okay.
stuff.
Okay.
He's just not a big name, right?
I just kept thinking, could they just not figure out a way to use him more? Because I would have liked a little more Mike Barnes.
But we'll probably get that next season, maybe. But I mean, that
Well,
finale.
next
I think
season
he
he'll
was
be his
great.
bodyguard. Like he'll be his best friend. Like you
That's
said,
how it
goes,
just
like
grows.
Chozen.
Yeah.
Johnny Lawrence, like every rival that Daniel's ever had, he befriends and they join up together.
And they do every like fantasy matchup. Like it's a little convoluted, but it's like Chozen versus Mike Barnes. You know, like fuck
Right.
yeah. You know, like we have to make up a reason for it to happen. It's a big misunderstanding, but you get it, right? Like they
Yeah.
deliver on every one of those.
But fantasy conversations too, Mike. I will put my hat in the ring and say best episode this season for me was the Night Out episode where all the adults get to go celebrate. We haven't said it
Yes.
yet, but Johnny Lawrence has some exciting news about his family. We'll talk about that a little more when we talk about the Robbie Miguel relationship. But the scene of him and Chozen going like, oh, and this annoying kid, he wouldn't shut the fuck up. I did some fucking karate out of it. Chozen's like, oh, you know, like, oh, you wouldn't believe. And then I was like, I'm gonna kill you. And he's like, really? And like, they're just like,
we fought to the death. Yeah.
Daniel came in and stole my girl, made me look stupid. It's like, me too.
The fact that you can, in a walk, bond by summing up each other's movies to each other of how you tried to destroy one kid's life is so funny.
Well, what I find interesting is all the villains, right? The adult villains, Kreese and Silver, they're still bad. But all the villains that were younger in the movies, they've all grown up and learned and been like, man, I did some bad shit when I was a kid. Like Chozen learns his lesson, Johnny Lawrence, and now Mike Barnes. And it's just like, you actually can change. Like this whole show is about befriending your bully, basically, and finding common ground and being like, we don't have to be rivals. We don't have to be enemies. We can be friends. And that's what I think is great about it.
Yeah, that is a great message. And I think, teens, growth. The original movie does have that believe in yourself kind of message and personal growth, but it doesn't have setting aside your differences, which I think is a very important lesson to learn as well.
Yeah.
Learn when to leave
Chozen,
well enough alone.
Yeah, and like Johnny Lawrence is a great character. Chozen is like one of my favorite characters now, and he was like, yeah, I did some fucked up shit. Like, I tried to kill you when I was a kid. Now we're best friends.
I was cheating with the scales to underpay farmers for shit. Like, he was doing all kinds of shady stuff.
Bring in the ice blocks. Bring in the ice blocks. No. I don't think this place has ice blocks.
And then his drunken call is
the drunken phone call, Mike. Yeah. So we're really tying these worlds together and I don't think making it too small. I think, once again, really honoring the character of, you have Chozen once again giving a speech of, I was dishonorable at a point. And it's been different from this perspective we've had this whole time. It's not just the influence of his uncle, which, again, we kind of learn and understand. We saw his flashback and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was not very good, his upbringing with that type of karate.
Right.
Yeah. It's a little more similar to Silver's training. Like, it's physically painful, that the methods that they learn, right?
Yeah.
But you get him saying, like, I betrayed my emotions by not being honest about the fact that I have really loved you for a long time. And it seems like we might get that scene I want in season 6 where they all just sit down for Thanksgiving. Now I'm hoping Jacob together and just like eat a meal, and Kimiko is there, and it would be wonderful.
You do it after they win the Sekai Takai. They're all in Japan. It's great. But when they faked us out, there is a sword fight. I was so scared because it's after that phone call. I'm like, you will not break my heart, show. Like, you would not take him.
And that's such an interesting question. I'll ask both of you. Mike, did you ever think this show would get to the stakes of, can they kill off main characters?
Yeah, and there's actually 2 death fake outs this season, right? Because you have Kreese at the end. I literally thought they killed Kreese off.
I was like,
they got me with Kreese. I thought Chozen, I didn't think he was going to die. I thought he was probably just going to be seriously injured, but Kreese, I was like, they killed this old man off, I guess.
I thought they would kill Chozen.
Yeah, I thought there was a chance. Just the way they set it up, and they're preoccupied with other fights where it's conceivable they'd be like, oh, we did it, we won. Where's Chozen? And then they walk to the pool, and it's like the saddest scene ever. But they didn't do that.
It would be a real shame to lose that character because he's such a great character and he's a really good actor, and like, I just love that character so much now after this season.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing more of him.
He basically comes to America just to defend Daniel Russo, the guy that he had this beef with a long time ago, and wow, what a great guy, Chozen.
I want to mention a set payoff. You go ahead first.
Oh, sorry, I just want to say, Mike, you set up the lack of teaching this season because, of course, with their bet or whatever, they're not allowed to. My last great fact about Chozen that I'll say is he's the only one you see teaching the students. So it is very cool that he is the quote-unquote Miyagi this season.
Yeah. Protect the egg.
We get a little bit at the end too, and that plays a key part, like in the climax of this too. So
they learned,
and they applied it, right, and that's setup and payoff, which leads into the point too, because he's essentially just like sleeping on the couch, and he's like, this is not comfortable. So what does Mike Barnes happen to do as a job? Own a furniture store. It's like, oh, this is perfect. That's where we're gonna get his new sleeping arrangement. We'll buy it from Mike Barnes. Oh
God,
man, How did
And I
they do
love
it?
that the training scene, the protect the egg scene, is really good too because it also has Anthony LaRusso, Daniel's son, who we've previously established like not good at karate, cheated on like the chores thing that you're supposed to go through, right?
Mm-hmm.
And kind of not like kind of a piece of shit kid right now, but
Taking
learning and trying to get
shortcuts.
better. Obviously,
Mm-hmm.
was a bully to Kenny and stuff originally. Now getting bullied by Kenny. But the whole protect the egg thing, he's the one to figure out. Oh, we need to stand together. They can't defeat us together. So
Yeah.
I love that moment too.
They play into their strengths. You know, he's the tech kid, quote
Use your
unquote. He
brain.
uploads the YouTube video that, of
Yeah.
course, you two who work with YouTube, you know that like those come in like security footage where as it gets downloaded, like the
Of course,
pixels,
yeah.
like, oh, it's getting sharpened.
it's
Oh,
blurred
the
out,
video's
yeah.
watchable now. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's exactly how it works. Yeah.
Yeah. We can't leave the room once it's uploaded. We have to wait for it to fully process. Right.
You're
Yeah.
always
You need
stuck
the
at
Wi-Fi.
work.
Throw it out a window
the
to one
finale-
person you have outside. But,
Right. There's a lot of crazy plots going on in the last two episodes, right? But I do love the scene where they all go out to celebrate, all the adults, and they're all together, and it's just like, yeah, Chozen and Johnny Lawrence hanging out with their old rival Danny. Like, I can't get enough of that shit. Like, that's my favorite part of this season for sure.
Wild. Let's bring up, I guess, the rest
Yeah.
of the what I would say plot wise in the middle stuff before we wrap up is the
Yeah.
Johnny Lawrence, Miguel, Robbie. Johnny's going to be a dad. He found
Yeah.
out that he's going to have a kid, right? And there's somebody new
Right.
coming into their life. He knows that these two boys are about to quote unquote become brothers. He needs to mend this thing. He makes them fight it out.
Oh yeah.
And this is a rivalry that's gone on since the beginning, right? Where Robbie, his biological son, and Miguel, his essentially adopted son, who's more of a son figure in the first couple episodes or seasons than Robbie is, because Robbie's kind of estranged. He was a bad father when Robbie was younger. Now he's trying to make up for it, raise Miguel like a better father, and now Miguel's soon to be brother. I think it's just great, man. Like all this family stuff, man, I love it.
Yeah, and
Johnny
the
Lawrence,
scene,
family man.
right, and seeing him clean up his apartment, and he's like, you know, to go from the mountains of Coors Banquet to like
Yeah.
only a few. It's pretty incredible to see that growth out of Johnny. You know, he's got new furniture, and even his ex-wife is like, did you do all this? He's like,
Yeah.
fuck yeah, dude,
But he's
I'm Johnny
growing
Lawrence,
as a
baby.
person.
Yeah.
And, you know, he wants his two sons to get along. They still kind of hate each other at the beginning of the season. He makes this whole escape room to try to, you know, trick them into being friends. Like he's going out of his way to
Coors
try to-
Banquet boxes, mind you. Like I
Yeah,
love
of
the
course.
dedication to the brand.
Yeah.
They need to fight it out instead. Now, Jacob, this was my tear-up moment of the of the series this watch through. The payoff of the fight, which was very heavily promoted in the trailers, so it really built up like, are these people going to be, you know, fighting the whole season? And again, we didn't really know how much Miguel was going to be in it. I was like, oh my God, I want to get to the friend stuff, but I'm really feeling this or whatever. When he kind of kicks him and he's kind of at the edge of the apartment and he has that flashback to the fall and he's just breathing so hard and stuff, I was like, fuck, Miguel is really working through some shit right now.
And is he going to cross the line? Like you're wondering, like, oh, Miguel, please don't. You know, and Johnny's downstairs.
I hate seeing my boy like that, man.
Oh, and it's tough for Robbie too, because Robbie has been dealing with like this guilt, and he's like,
the shame.
You know, it was the worst day of your life, but maybe it'll make you feel better to know there was the worst day of my life too. You know?
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah,
that's
stuff.
good character stuff, man. And it's emotionally driven. And
then they're best friends the rest of the season. It's exactly what I want, Mike.
And then it's perfect.
Yeah, this is really the season where like all the main kid characters became friends again after like seasons of like, oh, they're on Cobra Kai, they're on whatever. Like there was the whole love square with those two.
Yeah, let's call it the D plot with Sam and
Tori.
you know
Sam,
Tori, who I don't want. Here's the thing: I want to talk about Tori. I don't want to drag her down because she's obviously part of Sam's plot, and that just makes her one of the weaker aspects of the show. But I love Tori. Sam, whatever. Their fight, who cares?
Sam,
yeah.
If you've listened to the previous episodes, Sam's one of my least favorite characters for sure, unfortunately. Nothing against the actors, but...
You pray... No, definitely not. You just pray for redemption each season, and still it's stuff like, remember that time I got scratched, Mom? My life is crazy. And it's like, yes, we all know.
Well, that's
your
kind of
Ohio mom should have taught you better. You're very California right now, Sam, and I don't like it.
I even like your mom better than
family.
you.
Uh-huh.
The whole Russo family is kind of like entitled California's, except for the mom who's like the down-to-earth Ohio
excuse
mom.
me, excuse me, Jacob. at one point where she tag team does a move with her dad, she says Jersey Strong and he high fives her,
That's right.
proving that she like identifies as being a Jersey girl, even though it's like, girl,
Yeah.
first season, you were like scared of getting like a DUI in your daddy's like car and stuff.
Yeah.
Rich Valley girl.
You
And then
grew
even
up
in
in
this
the valley.
season, like I want to like her more, but even in this season, she like breaks up with Miguel, but then gets mad
I
that
need to
he's like
focus on
kissing another
karate.
girl at a party.
I
and
actually
it's
hate karate and I love you and I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
Oh
like,
yeah.
oh.
It's just like it's always something with her, man. I don't know.
Jesus.
Yeah. Not a huge fan, but you know, there's. It's good to see everybody friends again. Again, we get now all three kind of, or you know, the philosophy of Eagle Fang and Miyagi-Do and Okinawan like all mixed together because they're making a bid to get into the Tatakai, you know, the big tournament too, or instead of Cobra Kai, right? So that's going on.
But Mike, all those characters we just mentioned, I love them all to death. I'm doing things where I'm like, Robbie is a huge part of this season, but I want more. I'm not really getting enough of him. Oh, there's Hawk, my favorite character. Oh, Hawk and Robbie are talking to each other. Hey, you remember what it was like to be in Cobra Kai? That's right, I do. Okay, well, that was the one thing they said to each other all season. Okay, interesting. And then it'll keep going and we'll get more and more. But I feel like one of those people who's obsessed in like cartoon worlds, Jacob, like online fandoms where you're like, here's the whole fictional backstory I came up with, because it's like I want to see these characters interact. They're pretending they do,
but they do interact more as friends in this season. It's almost like the Avengers, where it's like, you know, there was like the Civil War or whatever, but now guess what? Iron Man and Captain America, they're friends again. You know?
Ant-Man sharing a beer with Thor. You see him in the back of that scene. That counts for something, and you're like, I guess they've interacted. I guess that's true.
It does seem like it's focused more on the adult plots, you know,
this
more this
season,
which
sure.
I'm okay with personally because I'm a big legacy guy.
A lot of
no,
the
you
OG,
love the teen drama, Mike.
A lot of the OG teens have already worked through their issues, so they're
Like you
all
said,
kind of on the good side now.
Like
so
you
they have,
said,
like you said, like they have Tori and Kenny, who are like the last two, and Devin, I guess, are like the three named characters still on Cobra Kai that are like, we need to get them back from the dark side.
Right.
And
there's no helping Kyler. Fuck Kyler.
Mike, he's gone.
Kyler, I can't believe he's still on the show.
He's got a very punchable, smug face. Good job, actor.
Maybe, well, he'll get redeemed season 6 with how we're going. But like, we'll get Robbie, right? And he'll have his Miguel subplot. But then, so true to what you're saying, Jacob, all his other lines will be like, hey, take it easy on Tori. I remember what it was like being in Cobra Kai. I used to be bad. Do you remember that? And people are like, yes, we remember. It's okay. It's fine.
You had Hawk. Hawk was the first Kylo Ren.
Hey,
then you had Robbie.
I used to be bad. Remember? See the color with this mohawk? It's not red anymore. I'm a good guy.
Yeah.
Hawk's had a great arc
like,
there.
Sure.
You know?
Well, can we talk about
then
another?
He becomes a jobber.
Well, sort of. He's still going to be main, but I do want to talk about another former Cobra Kai student who has a full arc in this season. You know, any ideas?
Talking Stingray.
Hell yeah, I'm talking Stingray.
But then we're spending so much time on like this redemption, Mike, where I'm like, I'm fucking stoked Stingray's back. This is incredible. That's like, he said, like, he starts one episode going, hey, aren't you Daniel LaRusso? And literally by the end of it, he goes, watch out, Mr. L. I got these guys. And I'm like, wow, this is
he never really had.
It's so fast. Yeah.
He never really had a relationship with Daniel LaRusso because he was an OG Cobra
Kai guy. Of course not.
Right.
Yeah.
But he plays into, because we haven't really talked about what Kreese is doing, so they're kind of in parallel, obviously. So the Stingray arc is tied with Kreese's arc, which is kind of the last thing I think to mention. But he, you know, lied. Silver beat the shit out of him, and Silver said, "You tell the cops it was Kreese, and then I'll take care of you, right? Get you a car, get you a house. I'll get you Johnny's actual car. You know, he has a car guy. Remember when he had to pick out his dumpy truck and shit? He had his car guy bring options.
Yes.
So that ties in.
Still got Johnny Lawrence's car.
Yeah, so he's pulling strings. He's got a
Also,
mansion.
The master who taught me so dang sung is. Like,
yeah.
Oh, shit.
Whoa.
Of course, he made all his money from, you know, nuclear waste.
Illegal chemical waste dumping. Yep.
Dad
it's incredible.
Says there's a lot of money to be made. You're like, oh my god.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Stingray,
that's where he's at.
Yeah, I kind of can't believe Stingray is still coming back to the show. Cole Walter Hauser, probably the biggest name in this cast when it comes to like actors that have been in movies and stuff. Like he was in Cruella, he was in that Boston bombing movie or whatever that Clint Eastwood. You know, he's had a bigger career in the last 5 years than most of the cast of this show. So Good on him for coming back, I guess.
Yeah, but he's having, the kids kind of press him a little bit. They're trying to talk to him. Daniel's trying to talk to him at one point, like, hey, man, just flip on Silver. We need dirt on Silver to get him out of the picture. Like, we know what's going on, right? So they're trying to get him to flip, and he does a D&D metaphor. Stranger Things shout out, I'm sure.
Yes.
Netflix,
Dungeons
very aware.
and Dojos, you mean.
Dungeons and Dojos.
That's
He
right,
still
the
wants to be
dwarvish
called
monk.
The dojo master, even
Yeah.
though dungeon is still in the phrase. They
Yes.
figure all this out because the little blonde-haired kid who has been in this show since the first episode, but maybe had 3 lines.
Yeah,
Bert
Bert.
goes like, hey, Stingray's my best friend. Let's go over there. And they're like, you got it, Bert. You're one of our best friends, and I fucking love you.
Because he was still in Cobra Kai, I guess, when Stingray was there. He's like, oh, man, my buddy Bert. But, when he's telling the story of the dwarven monk and the master beating him up, like, it is sad.
Hilarious.
Like, that he has to
It's sad.
process it. He has to process
when
his
you
trauma
cried.
through D&D. Yeah, I was like, my
Yeah.
God, Stingray.
He's like a big nerd. He's wearing a Link Zelda shirt, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Don't call him.
I love all the background characters that are still in the show from season 1, like Bert, Penis Breath.
Like the ones
all
from the
our
first
favorites.
And
movie.
this is, Jacob, when Bert starts talking, where in my mind I go, oh shit, we haven't seen fucking Penis Breath or whatever that other
Whatever names they get.
Mhm.
Well, there's
Johnny
another
gave in
big
season 1.
kid where I'm like, like
Yeah.
that other guy.
Yeah.
And then, of course, they're setting up in our mind to be like, you don't even realize it. I'm not here. I'm fucking Penis Breath. And they're like, Mitch, you fucking piece of shit. Get out of here.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, they're like, why'd you turn on us, Penis Breath? Oh, maybe because you call me Penis Breath all the time.
Yeah, you fucking idiots.
But
That's
I
like,
think
Tyler
Daniel
being
called
in this
him that.
show since season 1. They're like,
Mr.
remember when
LaRusso,
you
stop calling me Penis Breath.
dated my sister?
Kyler
Right.
tried to jump Johnny in season 1
Yeah.
Yeah.
outside of a liquor store. You know what I mean?
Old man.
Yeah, wild. But this kind of sets to Kreese stuff, though. He's in jail, right? And he's been hanging out with Tori. So there's a little bit of subterfuge
Tori-
happening there.
Slow
Yes.
burn. We go a couple
Tor-
episodes without seeing John Kreese, and then of
That's
course it's
right.
revealed mole in the system, Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that was set up last season where Tori is kind of his or her mentor, kind of.
Yeah.
He's taking on this adopted grandfather role, and
So
she doesn't really
strange.
trust anybody except John Kreese for some reason because he helped her out with, she's struggling with her mom being sick and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And he understands where she's coming from, growing up, poor and didn't have all the nice things that the LaRusso's had and everything.
Or the Silvers,
Yeah, they had to
And
work
he,
for.
he claims that it was all for Johnny. Like, he kind of does
Yes.
seem to have some type of real affection for Johnny. He's not evil completely yet, So
Yeah.
it's like he cares about his students at least somewhat, and they show that with a flashback. So he's not a complete
Well,
asshole like Silver is.
Flash back, but let's also talk about the CGI. So we're getting
Mhm.
this attempt at a redemption arc with Martin Cove's character, right? Where he's in, like low. I don't. You see it like all over. It's like California low stakes penitentiary, something
Low
like I have-
security prison.
Yeah, but I'm like, wait, this is insane. Because there are very dangerous people with him, it seems like. But he's in
Right.
these psychological sessions where he's seeing a psychiatrist and going like, oh, this is the reason I did this. You're not breaking me, blah blah blah. And Mike, we go through. He sees Gertrude or whatever, his old love, right?
Mhm.
Some other people he's let down in the past, and then we get a completely de-aged Johnny Lawrence.
Yeah. I think it looks all right.
Yeah.
I mean,
For
technology's getting there.
Netflix?
Yeah, I give him full credit for that. And that whole scene, it's interesting to see Kreese confronting his demons. Let's say. I don't think he's
Yeah, and I think
accepted them, but he's looking at them.
I think with Kreese, they've sort of retconned the character a little bit from what he was originally, where he was very much more two-dimensionally just a bad guy in the original, but
Mhm.
Probably
they've
drunk.
given him more depth of like, yeah, he did actually care about Johnny at one point. Like you see in the flashback, he's talking, he's like, I got this new kid. I really think he's going to be the best. He's even got the same name as me, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I like the scene
God.
where he fights in the prison and it cuts to the young version of him fighting. Like that's a good way
A
to get
smart
around.
way to do it. Yes, yes.
I
that's
thought
true.
that was,
Yeah.
the only thing we could do, right? Very clever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
Martin
think
Cove
that-
ain't doing karate. this
No,
age.
no. You can only do so much in close up, right? But I think
Yeah.
that was an elegant way to do it. He takes over the prison system, and then he's like, "Hot shit, king of the prison, and I liked that
Yes,
big guy.
sensei.
Do you want some Jello or anything?
Yeah.
So that's what he's doing. But he's trying to get out. Daniel and them kind of screw him over. They say, "Oh, we'll get you a lawyer," blah blah blah. They
It
screw him over.
culminates in this insane thing Jacob said about faking his death and kind of just walking out at the end where I was like, but what does this mean for the next season? He flies to Japan and it's like, I'm watching the Tang Sing Do.
What does he do now? Yeah.
Well, they got rid of Silver. They need a new villain for season 6, which I think may be the last season of the show.
That's what I would hope. Okay, I think we're,
Yeah.
as I mentioned with the movie, I think we're getting too big. Maybe this is where we kind of think about what we'd like to see or any other stuff. But
Well, yeah, I mean, to get more towards the end of how this goes, but
Yeah.
this season basically ends with Terry Silver, hair down, bloody, beaten up, going like, "You think your powers can destroy me?" And at one point, like, Mrs. LaRusso says, like, "I'm gonna call the police," and basically everybody laughs, and it is truly. Does Kenny think that he's going to kill some of these kids that he is fighting?
Right. Like, how far do we
Yeah.
take it? We literally had swords come out. So
Yeah. It really
death was on the
seems like-
table.
Yeah, like when Johnny and Chozen and Mike Barnes can go to Terry Silver's house to confront him, it really seems like he's going to kill them.
Well, he
Like, he's
says you're
going to kill
trespassing
Chozen.
now, castle law, baby. Like,
But
fuck.
again, when Terry Silver surprises them at the charity auction, he tenses his fist and says, "What are you doing here? We can't do this here." Like, there's almost like Highlander rules where it's like, the two of us are around
Yeah.
each other, I might have to kill you, bro. And again,
Right.
it's like, he just won a karate tournament against you, and you're basically not allowed to run your dojo anymore. And he's trying to make a smart business venture of opening a ton of dojos.
Yeah.
The stakes
Well-
aren't like astronomical.
On the one hand, Terry Silver, he's got this whole plan for, business reasons, but then he
Yes.
also has this insane vendetta against Daniel LaRusso that if he just let that go, he could probably
Yeah.
enact
Wow,
his
the
plan.
theme.
And-
You're right.
Yeah.
And the worst, of course, and this feeds on this, Jacob, because we get these incredible flashbacks during their fight. But when I am saying these outlandish things of like, oh, these people are killing each other, or oh, do they really have to stop each other? They remind you at the end of the season that there is footage of him abusing a young woman, like saying like,
Right.
I used to abuse this kid. I made his hands bleed and stuff. I
Yeah.
did the same treatment to you. I paid these people off. You've looked like a fool. And it's like, yes, you have done illegal things. You do need to be stopped, actually. You are
You've
a
done
menace.
many illegal things. You burnt down a furniture store.
Yeah, that's like
Uh,
insane. Like, that should actually be the one that
He should be in jail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
like, you actually have to go because of that one. But also, stop hitting Tori. That's crazy.
He probably just paid like some random ass person to do that.
You there.
Yeah. Here's $10,000. Burn down that furniture store, crackhead.
Huh?
Oh yeah.
Me?
That lady from the parking lot in the
Oh, I'm
season
sure.
1 and 2.
Of course, he beat up Stingray and put him in the
Yeah.
hospital, right? So that's serious
Yes.
assault right there.
Another person
Yeah.
is abused. Yes.
Yeah,
He
so-
clearly does. Now, there are
Nuclear
theories.
waste too.
Well,
Check the
Bad
books.
Planet Mike.
Yeah.
There are theories. I don't know if you guys have seen this at all.
Mm-mm.
There is the moment where Terry unexpectedly meets Daniel and Amanda in the hospital, right? When they're coming back from the attack, and he says, "Oh, I didn't mean to see you guys here." They have a little conversation. There are a couple comments he makes towards the end of the season, like, "You don't realize what you're living for," he says to Chozen. Do you think he's dying? Is that what's going on with Terry Silver? Is his ultimate motivation? Does he have some sort of fatal illness after all this?
Ooh, it's their ticking clock element with Terry.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I
be.
wonder what he was
Why
saying.
bring Cobra Kai to the next level now, Jacob? Why bring in the greatest masters to beat
Well,
the
now
Valley?
he has control of it, right? He took control from Kreese. He brings in the daughter of his old master to, bring his whole philosophy.
Do you think
the
he
higher
could
level.
beat her, Jacob?
Maybe.
In this
Do you think
universe,
Terry was
yes.
the
Pretty-
ultimate?
She's pretty tough.
Yes.
Though, too.
Terry's still
I
the
think
main
so.
boss. Yeah.
Yeah.
It follows video
age-
game rules.
Mhm.
I think age. Yeah, it should be like all the adults are somehow better than all the kids, which is like.
Think about
I think
Mr.
Miguel
Miyagi.
could be, like,
Yeah,
any of
yeah.
these 60-year-old
Yeah.
kids.
He beat up
Yeah,
5
yeah.
teenagers at once.
Like,
Yeah.
it's like, you are 90 years old. He's like, no,
Right.
no. That means I'm like level 100. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
there's that
shit.
scene where Daniel
that is
beats
karate
up,
in
like,
this
5
universe.
hockey players at once in the last season.
Yeah.
But
Johnny beat up 5
realistically-
teenagers. It's a rite of
Johnny
passage,
tells
really.
that story. I saw your dad kick these guys' fucking asses. They were great.
Right.
You're right.
But realistically, Miguel
Yeah.
or Robbie or Hawk could like beat any of the adults probably very easily.
Hey,
Yeah.
old man LaRusso. Fuck you. I'm not doing any of your tricks today. He's like, well, I'm going to do defensive style if you keep saying that to me, Hawk. That's not a very nice. And he just fucking punches him right in the fucking face and just leaves him.
Done. Sweep the leg. That's what it'll take.
Yeah.
But I do like the lady. I don't know her name, but
Oh, the
Korean
the other
lady.
master.
the main Korean actress.
She's
yes.
like a very
Yeah, yeah.
can't remember.
intense, like her whole motivation is just like she really wants to bring this teaching of Tang Soo Do of like punch this rock until your hand is broken and that'll make you stronger.
I thought they wrote away the one strong moment we were going to have where Sam and Tori do come together, but instead they go with, no, we have to mirror the exercise with Devin. Sam's actually going to go save her brother, LaRusso. I was like, no, you need to redeem this character. I don't care about the LaRusso siblings. You need to, I need some help with Sam. Pair her up with a better character. Have her take down this master. That would have been awesome.
Yeah. I mean, Tori, they kind of like go away from the Tori Sam rivalry and more bring in Devin to be like her rival, but
and have Devin be again the bad guy to Tori, so they soften it and go like, no, actually Tori's like a good character, and you're like, yeah, I've known that since the beginning, but you're running out of tricks here.
The whole tipping point for Tori was finding out that Terry Silver cheated, right? And then he cheats again in the competition they're having to get into the tournament.
Yep.
I guess it's just very easily to pay off karate refs in California, apparently.
But they don't get paid a lot. It's like,
They're
realistically, yeah, not a ton of money there.
But then they're like, what do we have to do? Just make the point so obvious that you can't cheat, right? And so that's
dodge, super hit.
Yeah.
Which that would be the response if it seems like the judges aren't noticing your points. Having been in karate tournaments, it's like,
right.
If you feel like you're getting it, I'm going to make sure they fucking know.
But I would also just be like, hey, this ref keeps looking at Terry Silver. It seems very sketchy. Like he's paid off.
He at one point, officials who run the Valley Karate whatever thing. He at one point looked over at that our opponent and went, "I don't know what I can do," and gave me the point. I don't think that's right.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. But I like the decision to be like, oh yeah, let Hawk do it. I thought that was cool.
It's like, who's the strongest male fighter? Hawk, Robbie, Miguel.
Yeah.
Let's let Hawk do it. He's the current champion because of some technicalities, but
Miguel's still in Covery. Robbie kind of still in that mental battle, right? Because again, a lot of this season is sort of, I guess, how you feel about yourself versus who you are, right? I mean, again, it's the strong roots, which we'll talk about, which I guess is the ultimate moral of all Karate Kid, and is the third moment I cried when Daniel said that. But again, we'll get to that final moment.
Yep.
But there is this recurring motif this season of people being like Tori being like, I'm the champion. I don't feel like it. I suffer because of that. I'm not in the mental positioning, right? Robbie still has the conflicting of, I did a lot of stuff in the past that's bad. I can't really take this way. Miguel with Sam being like, I don't know what's up with our relationship. I don't know what's up with me. I need balance too. I mean, it all goes back to the first movie, Mike.
Yeah, it really does. And then it also with the fact that Daniel doesn't know how to let well enough alone, like Silver being perceived as this good businessman, nice guy, when Daniel is like one of the only person who knows his true colors, and he wants so desperately to expose it that he becomes again the bad version of Daniel, the dark side Daniel from Karate Kid 3, like at the dinner.
He
knocks over the bonsai trees, and he's on a hair trigger around Silver, and Silver knows it too. So he's dealing with identity. I think I'm a good guy, a nice guy doing the right thing, but I keep messing it up.
Right, and he goes to confront Mike Barnes, and then he realizes like, oh wait, I'm acting like a psycho, accusing him of like doing this shit when he's just
having henchmen. Yeah.
But Mike Barnes' line of like, man, I tried to write you a letter 1,000 times. I was like, fuck, that is a good, like, you're just like, everybody's exhaling this out. I felt it.
And he's like, yeah, a lawyer, man, to write a contract to terrorize a kid. It was a very weird situation, Daniel.
I'll have you know. Paperwork. It's insane when I think about it.
Yeah.
Again, the three of us watching that movie for Jacob and I the first time being like, this is insane to get this validation. It's
and
they
just
so
address it. And then Daniel also brings up, he I don't think he's drunk, but I think he's on something even stronger. And it's like, were you introduced to that by hanging out with Terry Silver in the 80s? You know, maybe that's where it
Jesus
started.
Christ.
Yeah,
Or
just,
Snake.
like Johnny, Chozen, and Mike Barnes all kind of have the same arc where they're like, they had a bad mentor as a young, person, and they had to grow and realize like, oh, like I can be a better person, and they're all able to do that. So I like that recurring motif, I guess.
Everyone calls me Karate's bad boy, but they never ask why I'm being bad.
Right.
You know, that's all I
Yeah.
want. You know, just poor guy.
Wow.
Yeah, incredible
Cobra
stuff.
Kai.
So we get, I
Let's-
guess, yeah. Final.
I was going to say, let's get to the end of it. Let's get to that
Yeah.
that final confrontation, right?
Correct.
The final fight, let's say, where everybody's sort of paired off. Johnny, even though he's kind of fucked up still, has to go up against all the masters, right?
Oh, yeah, we're getting drunk in boxing here.
Eye patch guy.
We're getting chunky. Yeah. All those, the UFC guy, Mike said. Again, Chozen has been sort of designated our heavy hitter, and in the absence of Daniel LaRusso, will be acting as Daniel LaRusso and doing Miyagi-Do. I mean, he has these conversations, so he will be facing up against Terry, right? Cobra Kai, Miyagi-Do, the students facing off. Again, Jacob rightly criticized it earlier. They come up with these like traveling MacGuffin motifs, which you see in Marvels, which is like, I'm the one you have to protect, and it's like, well, all of us
Tesseract.
against everybody. And, again, cinematically, you have to have all the kids there to see the fall of Terry Silver too. Like, of course,
Right.
that's how that all has to play out.
Mhm.
And they have to get, everybody else together. Oh, here comes Stingray with the LaRussos. But what did you guys think about this actual final fight, these final fights?
I thought it was pretty good. I am wondering like what they're gonna do with like Cobra Kai now, because all the named characters have been like saved
Zip.
from the dark side, right? So it's a lot of unnamed background characters in Cobra Kai now. Like even in that last fight, it's really just Kyler, Tori, and Kenny that are like the characters that we know of that are.
Well,
And they
Cobra
throw their
Kai.
jerseys at the end.
Yeah.
That shit's
And-
done.
there is a moment where they pan and one kid's fighting where I went, oh, this Cobra Kai kid has some moves. Who's this kid? And his face turned around. It was Robbie Jacob. And I was like, oh,
Yeah, but I did love the Kyler scene with Hawk and Dimitri.
awesome.
His old, the two people he used to bully all the time. Like he's really getting his come up. It's like Hawk points out, like everyone who you used to bully is like kicked your ass by now. Like haven't you learned your lesson? Like love
Yep.
that stuff.
Love that showdown, dude.
Yeah,
The pairings that they chose were like thematic too. It's not
Yes.
like
Yeah.
random. They're putting, like you said, Kenny with Kyler and Sam and Tori again. And Devin's in there.
yes.
Devin and Tori have to team up to fight, and that's
Yeah.
Master Kim. They have to team up to
Master
fight
Kim.
Master
thank you,
Kim,
Mike.
Yeah.
which that was a training lesson, so they get to kind of figure that out. So there's thematic depth to the fights too, which is, like you said,
Totally.
Chozen standing in for Daniel. I mean, if you would have told me when I was a kid, hey, what if Chozen was going to fight Terry Silver? I'd be like, no
Hey,
fucking way.
there's gonna be a
Chosen and
moment.
Johnny Lawrence
Yeah,
team up.
there's going to be a
Yeah.
moment with Johnny Lawrence and Chozen back to back. Johnny Lawrence looks at Chozen, acknowledges that he's the better fighter, and goes, "You go, I got them." And they fucking just like goes all
Yeah.
out. And you're like,
They're kind of
"What?"
like they're
He's gonna
the
fight Terry
Falcon
with
and
a
the Winter
sword.
Soldier backing up Captain America, man.
Yeah.
We have, so here it is. Jacob just hit the point.
Yep.
This season, we left Star Wars and we have gone full Avengers.
Yes.
Now it is just the cheerleader moments of like, Terry Silver's got a sword. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
Right.
man. Yeah, he
Yeah, you got
is.
girls
Thanos.
get it done, right? You got the girls team up.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just like Avengers and Star Wars. It's crazy.
Yes, which are both in Disney now, so why not be the same
Yes.
thing? But I
The
think it's great.
Disneyfication.
But we get Daniel Silver rematch, right?
The
Finally,
real final fight.
the upload goes up, right? The jig is up, Silver. We're
Who
doing this.
cares? I don't care. I'm crazy. And you're like,
And
yeah,
rich.
you are the Joker.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
literally said this since the first moment we've met you. You're once again following very true to your character. I'm eating this up with a spoon.
Mm-hmm. He's an
And
egomaniac.
we get Daniel versus
Unless
Terry
you
Silver.
think you can beat me right now, Danny boy.
Listen,
Or you're going to lose again.
Yeah.
to be fair, Terry Silver wasn't at 100% when he started that fight because he was just in
He
a
was
sword fight
he
with
is
Chozen.
dying. He
Right,
is-
right, right.
He's already
But
fucked
it
up by
also
that
plays
point.
into what I said earlier about everybody's kind of fighting off balance. Now, this is the moment where Daniel, of course, regains his balance as Amanda touches his shoulder and says, "Whatever you do, I'm with you. Whatever you want to do, you do it. Kick his ass if you want to."
And man,
Daniel
I love that.
puts his arms up. And Mike, we go right into this fucking thing.
And I need to rewatch some of the choreography because I'm pretty sure he's using techniques from every movie. It looks like at one point he uses the drum technique to defend. We get a crane
Of course,
kick.
he,
Chozen in the
finishes
background's
it
like,
off with the
"Yep,
crane
oh,
kick.
And
yeah."
he's even doing Quicksilver. Man can't stand. He throws it
Yes.
right in his face,
Yes,
bro.
yes.
Man,
Can't
the
breathe,
catch
Fuck.
with the knee, as
Yeah.
when he says when he's coming for the eyes, and he catches his hand between the shoulder and the knee.
Yep.
That was or the elbow and the knee. That
That's
was
sick.
so fucking slick,
Yep.
sick, beautiful. It just looked incredible. The flashbacks. This is the moment again where I said I cried because the speech that Daniel gives right before it is the strong roots, the plants will survive, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's talking about everything because, of course, Terry's saying, "I've destroyed everything you have." No, you can't. It's not because Daniel's saying it, because again, not the best actor on the planet. I don't really care about him that much. But Jacob,
I hate this
think
stupid
about
bike. I want to go home.
Ralph Macchio, God bless you.
Yep.
Jacob,
Yep.
I think
We love
about
you.
you in that
Stay
episode where
golden,
we
golden,
cover
golden.
all three and we talk about part 3, where you said like you just really feel Mr. Miyagi when he's like so torn up about like that was the damage that was done, was Terry trying to drive between them and saying like,
Mhm.
"Oh, I'm just so worried about Daniel."
Right.
You know, I picture Miyagi again saying the thing about strong roots, and it's just like it all paid off, man. All these people around you. When he says Miyagi-Do won't die, you know, it lived before, it'll continue after. All these kids watching him are going to do Miyagi-Do for the rest of their fucking lives. And it's just like, this dumb karate show is making me think this and cry. Like, fuck
Yeah.
you. This
Yeah.
is bullshit, Netflix.
Well, and Daniel, looks up to Mr. Miyagi as like this revered figure, right? To the point, even in earlier seasons, his kids are like, "Man, like you talk about Mr. Miyagi too much."
A lot.
But now they're like learning the lessons that
he's
he was trying
reached
to
the
teach them.
status.
Yeah.
Do you understand
he
why?
has for a new generation become. Yeah.
No, and it's
Yeah.
incredible because the strong roots. The whole thing is, Daniel went to the dark side and he's trying to sell the fucking most valuable tree. Barnes splits it in half, right? He's
Right.
heartbroken. He's distraught. Like, I did the worst thing I could ever do to Miyagi. I betrayed his trust. I betrayed his teachings. And Miyagi doesn't get pissed off. He just says, "Daniel, it's going to be all right. The tree's got strong roots." Just like you. Like, he doesn't berate him. He just unconditional love. And it's like, Miyagi, bro,
Gosh.
like, you love it. And
He's
to
the
see
man.
that was, a
Yeah.
big emotional moment. Incredible.
Yeah.
And now
And-
what happens though? Terry Silver's in jail.
Yeah, well, from here we get a lot of resolution. Let me say,
I own
Everybody
the
who
cops.
Sort of
Maybe he
had
just
these
walks
little-
free.
and that's kind of all I can picture, Mike, because Tori and Sam are like, "Oh, it was a misunderstanding. I get this." Kenny, we
Mhm.
saw take off the jersey, like you said. Even fucking Kyler, like
All
Cobra
of
Kai
Cobra
is
Kai
done.
says, "Fuck it." Yep.
Yeah.
We get the stinger with Kreese. That's not really tied into this, but there's just this moment of like, we did it, and you're like, "Yeah, you did do it. Goodbye, Cobra Kai." Like I really do
Right.
go like, and that was all of Karate Kid in the Miyagi verse, and I
Well,
feel great.
Yeah, I feel like there could
Yeah.
be one last season, and they're building up Kreese to be the ultimate villain again, which I don't know how well that'll work compared to Silver, but also
We're going back to Ultron after Endgame.
Yeah,
Yeah.
regressive. I
Yeah.
agree.
But
But
Terry
it can't just be a
Silver-
championship. It can't just be a season of them just going to Japan, Jacob.
That's the
and
thing.
meeting
Everyone's
some-
friends now. Everyone's on the same side. So where do you go from there? With Terry Silver, he could get out of jail though because we know he's rich. He's got great lawyers. Probably they
Mhm.
could maybe get him out somehow.
That was
But-
a YouTube.
yeah.
That was just a prank, bro.
But-
The
and
video
then-
was a
but this-
prank.
But it becomes to what though? Because they truly were fighting to death. He gets out of jail and he gets a gun and breaks the martial arts treaty that they sort of have and just shoots Daniel LaRusso. Like
Right.
what?
Oh
Like
my
what is
God.
again the
Well, that's
end
the
game for
thing.
any of this?
That's the big question.
Like you said, is so much resolution in this season. Where do you go from here? Like, what left is there to even resolve? Like, maybe you have Kenny coming back to the light side, I guess. But really, all the kids are like getting along now. You need more evil kids to join Cobra Kai or something to have some villains.
Is
to
Cobra Kai
fight.
even open? Does it have a business license? Like whose name is on?
Yeah, does Johnny just
Right.
get it? We get this thing at the end where the tournament committee says, like, you guys have been chosen, but of course, Miyagi-Do and Cobra Kai, that's a little confusing. What will you guys be called? So is it this final season of like, and we are the...
No, it's gotta. Here's a pitch. What if Cobra Kai is disgraced? The only thing is like, what does Master Kim do? Like, she just go back to Korea, right? The way
Yes, okay.
or does
Okay,
she run
Mike.
Cobra Kai or not? But my thought is she's like, all right, fuck it, Terry Silver, fuck this up. I'll go back to Korea, and I'll enter the Sekai Takai with my own squad, right? And then
Killer kids.
Johnny takes over Cobra Kai again, but now they're competing against each other honorably. Daniel and Johnny. It's all out of respect. I'm going to refix
I
this
guess
legacy.
that would be
That is
that
what
would
it's
be the
gotta be.
culmination of
You
like
just figured
we
it
still have
Yeah.
our different schools of thought.
But now we
Miyagi-Do
don't
versus
hate
Cobra
each
Kai
other.
/ Eagle Fang.
Now,
Yeah.
in the final part of this match, Master Kim has invited a special guest. She's got zooming in from prison, Terry Silver, who's like, and
Oh,
here's why my teachings. And you're like, oh, okay, sure.
right.
Right.
No, we get Snake to come back. He's her big new heavy number 2 sensei. It's Snake and Dennis from Karate Kid 3. We need them.
Right.
And
Right.
Julie Pierce shows up because she loves karate because she knew Miyagi and she's been following the
She's-
Sekai
She has a
Takai forever.
showdown with
Mike.
Daniel.
Mike, I've
Yeah.
got 2 pitches for next
Please.
season. Okay, this is literally what I think is going to happen. I think
Mhm.
they're finally going to get the Hillary Swank, and here's what it is.
Okay.
They go to the tournament. You're seeing that classic fight roster. Everything's put up next to each other. All these people. You're
Yep.
like, okay. Well, hold on. Mr. Miyagi or Daniel, what's this? It says whatever our school name's called, Fang Do or Cobra Miyagi or whatever it's going to be called. It says
Yep.
we're going up against something called Miyagi-Do. But isn't that what you learned? And he'll be like, oh. He'll go and look, and it will be her
Miyagi-Do
Sensei
teaching
Pierce.
She has gone on to be a sensei of, I'm a lawyer, like I said I would be, in that movie. But of course, Mr. Miyagi changed my life. I'm sorry, your name is, your school of thought is Miyagi what? Cobra? Do you know Miyagi-Do as well? Oh, my whole life is Mr. Miyagi. He's my dad,
I
basically.
love Miyagi.
So
Right?
basically, we find
Yeah.
out Hillary Swank started her own Miyagi-Do in
in
Boston.
Boston.
Yeah, they qualified from Boston to go to Japan. She is the sensei
Yeah.
for them, right? How
That's
great would that be?
interesting. Yeah,
My
we get
second-
a friendly showdown between Daniel and.
But then
and-
they'll be eliminated. We'll move on. That'll be her one quick cameo.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
That
yeah.
would be my pitch.
Perfect.
My second pitch, and I truly do believe this is going to happen. That last one we just did for fun, but truly believe. With all this buildup of Johnny's kid, I think by the end of the season, that kid's name will be Daniel.
Oh,
Wow.
I think it will be a boy, and I think in the ultimate show of growth of what the whole series is about is you named your rival, your bully, your
Yeah.
son. Wow.
I
Well,
wish
think about.
I would
yeah, go
put
ahead.
money on that. I wish we were still in Vegas. That's incredible, Colin.
That's a great.
That
I
has
think
to
that's
be
what's gonna
it.
happen.
I love
Mhm.
that. And think about just the relationship between Johnny Lawrence and Daniel LaRusso over time. Even in the first couple seasons, they're still begrudging, even though they're like both kind of father figures to Robbie at one point. And slowly over the time, they kind of grow to like each other more. And it really is like a 5-season arc. And it's all culminated. Now they're like going out partying together, like hanging
Yeah.
out. Their wives like each other. Like
They just had a conversation in his apartment, like, man, I'm fucking up. Daniel goes to Johnny for advice, right? Like, that would
Yeah.
have never happened in season 1. I do love to see that growth.
yeah.
To name him Daniel. Daniel Lawrence. Wow.
Wow.
Keep it on the DL,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
I guess another big part of next season should be Kreese, Johnny Lawrence relationship mending.
That's
and
what I
making
see.
Kreese a more sympathetic figure in the last season.
Palatable.
Time's
And he
ticking. Maybe Johnny does get Cobra Kai back, just like as a legacy thing. We're gonna make it good. Kreese is like, hey kid, I never meant to fuck you up. I'm on the run though, and I'll probably die at the end of this season. Let's hug it out.
Right.
I'm on the run. I escaped jail, Mike.
Because I had to
But
tell you,
if
I don't got much time. Terry's been taking me to the
Yeah.
hospital secretly, right?
If you remember, like when they go meet him in jail, like he's legitimately hurt by the things that Johnny Lawrence says, where he's like, I hate you, basically. Like, you ruined my
Yes.
life. I never want to see you again. Like, and Kreese still feels like a mentor father figure to Johnny Lawrence, even though he knows he screwed up and he wants to fix that relationship.
If the show's about anything, it's about legacy, and it seems like Kreese wants to rewrite his while he has time, you know.
But
and that'd be fitting for Martin Kove to get the face turn because everyone gave him shit all through the 80s for being in this movie. So that will happen. I think you're right, Colin. We're going to get the Daniel as Johnny's son's name, and him and Kreese are going to set aside their differences, and Kreese will probably not survive that.
Or what is it, Noriyuki? What did we settle on Mr. Miyagi's first name being?
Noriyuki.
What if his name was Noriyuki Lawrence?
Oh, geez.
That's right.
I got to double check.
That's Pat Morita's real name?
Pat Morita's name is Noriyuki, yeah.
What was on the grave when Chozen was there? Wasn't it Noriyuki?
I'm looking at now. I should know this because I'm the expert. It's Nariyoshi.
Nariyoshi.
Similar kind of phonetics to Noriyuki.
Sure.
So Nariyoshi. Yeah.
Nariyoshi.
Miyagi.
Nariyoshi Miyagi. God.
Wow.
God, I love this fucking series. Let's
Lawrence.
get out of here. Let's go. Let's do our fucking
Chozen will name his kid Nariyoshi. His kid
yes, that he has at
very, very
65 years old.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
maybe not.
Yeah. Johnny
I need them to hook up too, though.
Daniel
Keep it going.
Miyagi Lawrence.
Yeah, Daniel Miyagi Lawrence.
Incredible.
Or Daniel Nariyoshi Lawrence.
Yeah.
Damn. Daniel Mr. Lawrence.
Daniel Mr. Miyagi Lawrence.
Just Mr.
Right.
Yeah. All
We
right.
have been doing a little showdown here, talking Karate Kid, but let's hit it and duck our final thoughts and wrap it up on the 5th season here of Cobra Kai here on Normies Like Us. We're back. Hiya, hiya. Cobra Kai here on Normies Like Us, where we have been gushing and gushing. I said up top, we can do our rankings, of course, and squeeze in our final thoughts too. Mike, we said it. I mean, this is a classic Mike's choice. You know, you guys talked Cobra Kai before that at your insistence, but here we are. How you feeling with season 5 now that we're away from it, man?
I am Spider-Man 2 vindicated. Like, I feel good because I've always loved this series, and to see that it's not only like popular, that it's the quality is still there, and it has inspired Sony to say, let's reboot this shit separately from the show, apparently, because they're doing that movie now. So it's coming back, and I'm really just proud of the showrunners and the job that they've done with a franchise that essentially only I cared about before now, you know?
Really?
A select number of people like really are in on that
well, it must have
universe.
had at least enough audience to get Cobra Kai in the first place, right?
Yeah, and the creators are treating it with such love, like you said. And if you were one line of dialogue, we will pay that off, eventually, right?
Right.
So I really
It's
appreciate
really
that.
insane.
I just hope season 6 delivers and we're done at that point with the show. It's going to be hard to get people back. No one's getting younger, unfortunately. I think this is the time to finish it. Season 6, 3 and 3.
I think that's a good time. They've covered everything I think they need to cover. They would just kind of run out of ideas after that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully, I think some of the younger cast members are going to get bigger roles, like Zolo Mariduena, who's going to be Jaime Reyes, the Blue Beetle, right?
Oh yeah.
I guess
I want
for my
Robbie to
final
hit. I don't know why he has
Robbie should hit too. Once I get my
He's been in
haircut.
some other stuff. He was in that Designated Survivor show with my guy Kiefer Sutherland.
Is he like the
his son.
president's son or something? Is he
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Jacob, I might have just found my new binge.
Oh, geez.
Yeah, I think there's like 2 seasons of that show. But for my final thoughts, it's pretty similar to how I felt last season. Like, I just think this show is like better than it has any right to be. Like, it's the best 5-season show about a series of 80s movies that's ever been made. Like,
Okay, Jacob.
Yeah.
Let's go from there. You're right. Rambo Last Blood comes out. People are like, this is the worst thing that has ever been made. We couldn't have survived 5 seasons of a Rambo TV show where he's like teaching a young vet to have feelings by this point, right?
Right.
Mm-mm.
I mean, the closest thing, like, you have, Top Gun sequel this year, which was like a huge success at the box office, and that's like a movie that just a random 80s movie that never got any sequels after that, but now has a sequel. So that has Tom Cruise and names in it and stuff.
It has star power.
Yeah.
Karate
It's kind of
Kid.
a lightning in the bottle, but that's probably standing on the shoulders of Karate Kid's success. The 80s nostalgia being
Yeah.
proven, right? Potentially.
Which again, Stranger Things, yeah, blah blah. It's all cyclical though.
But like,
Yeah.
what other movies from the 80s can you think of that would have like that you could make a successful show out of? Continuing
Well,
that universe.
you know, we're literally about to see it with Willow, Jacob. I hate the Willow movie. I think that
Yeah.
series is doomed, in my opinion, especially when we're kind of on the cusp of too many fantasy things that are kind of driving people crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Disney doing that too, right?
Yeah.
So Disney, HBO, and Amazon all throwing something in the fantasy ring.
Yeah.
I prefer my fantasy to be karate in a high school, you know?
That's right, Mike.
That works for me. I don't know what, there's no other show, I think, like maybe there's a world where like a Ghostbusters series, right? Might work if you are clever with it, you know what I mean? Similar to this.
For sure.
Or, you know, Bill and Ted, they did have an animated TV show, but you might have something there, but then
You've
Hey,
got
maybe
like
not.
horror franchises and stuff that have continued, like Halloween and
Ash vs. Evil Dead was bad, dude. And I'm
For
a
a TV
Evil
thing,
Dead
yeah.
super fan.
yeah, there's one.
Even if you asked me before this show came out, what's one that would make a good TV show, I wouldn't have said Karate Kid. So I'm just as shocked, I think, as
Right.
everybody that it is
True.
as good
They
as
always
it is.
had the angle of like, let's see it from Johnny's point of view, right? That was kind of the hook of it.
Well,
in the beginning.
do you guys know this? That the creators of this show, their next pitch is Ferris Bueller from the point of view of the guys who steal their car. You know, like the valet drivers.
Whoa.
Really interesting.
Yeah. So
Ferris
what is
Bueller
that?
connected the John. Oh man, that's crazy.
John
they do that.
Hughes.
John Hughes
Yeah,
connected
Ferris.
universe.
Ferris Bueller. Yeah, it's nuts, man.
I think with
And-
this show, I mentioned quickly on the Whatcha, like it is a much easier task to say, just watch these 3 Karate Kid movies over and over and over and mine them for everything, than here's 50 to 75 years of all comic books, go.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you could really make all those callbacks. The lift is much lighter, but you could tell that they do love the franchise,
But-
and that helps.
Yeah, and these showrunners, like, they could, like, if Marvel offered them a directing or a writing job, like, I feel like they would do a good job at it because they understand, like, how to do callbacks and like Easter eggs and like all that stuff. Like, they understand how to make a connected universe type of media, right?
Well, and your beloved
Yeah.
Jude Law is partnering up with John Watts, the Spider-Man director, to make that young Star Wars movie. That's what they keep calling it, a kid's Star
right.
Wars movie.
Hmm.
To me, Jacob, we've said a million times, if you want young people and Star Wars themes, go to Cobra Kai. Like, that would have
Yeah.
been a perfect job for them to direct.
Yeah.
Right. Totally.
With the morality, I think, like, what would they have done with another reflexive type of thing, like an Obi-Wan, right? Like,
Right.
Anything that's building itself off of a pre-existing franchise. Like, they've shown that they know how to mine for the nuggets of
And
gold.
the world building in this show is like so much better than what they did do in like Obi-Wan and Boba Fett. Like,
Yes.
Yeah,
you
if they're
know,
going to go anywhere in their career, they should be doing those higher profile Disney level projects, because
Yes.
they clearly have an aptitude for it. And I hats off to them.
For all
Yeah.
the praise, though, I do want to point out that we are heaping on these 2 creators. They are people that I have heard in the industry behind the scenes on screenwriting forums and stuff, who are those type of people who are just like putting their names on screenplays. So I don't know. Maybe. Allegedly.
Well, whatever team you got, just keep them assembled when whoever hires you. You know, and Terry Silver cuts the check. Just make sure you cut them in on the deal too. Don't mess with
Yeah.
the formula. It's been good so far. Yeah.
But for my final thoughts, I just want to say, like, I'm wearing my famous red shirt if you're watching the video, and you know that means, and this is something new I'm starting, but that means if I'm wearing this shirt in the review, that means it's a certified banger. Okay.
Woo!
That's what the
So
show
you'll
is.
know from the first seconds of the video episodes whether it's a banger or not.
That's
Quick,
right.
turn it off.
wearing
Jacob
this.
likes this thing.
Right.
I mean, yeah. If you know Anthony Fantano, he's got
Go
the
back to Nope.
yellow
Mhm.
flannel. I got my red
Yeah.
shirt. So, but I
There
feel
you
like
go.
this show, it was made for Mike. It was made for me. You know, set in the San Fernando Valley. That's where I live.
What?
Amanda is from Ohio. That's where I'm from. Like,
Set in a Cleveland bar. That's where you live.
I live in it. Yeah, I got the brownie elf behind me. This show, man, it's made for me, and made
Yeah.
for you. So
Yeah. You should
maybe
keep
it'll be
watching
made
it.
for you too, normies.
I will let you go last, Mike, to give your beloved final thoughts on your beloved
Thank you.
final franchise. But and Jacob, do your ranking real quick, because we'll do those. Well, what is your ranking of the
Oh.
seasons?
It's hard to even remember like what
Sure.
specifically happened in the.
Yeah.
I think season one
Sure.
was really good because that's the OG
Yes.
in the heart of the Miguel.
Then it's kind of the rebuttal to the
Johnny-
tournament is season 2, where everybody's like, "Oh, we lost or won. What a bummer."
Yeah, season 2 maybe not as good for me. I think it gets stronger when it moves in season 3 to Netflix, and then season 3 and 4 are a little stronger. But I think 5 has got to be up there in the top 2 or 3 seasons for me, with season 1 and maybe season 3 or 4. I don't know. What do you think?
I'm going 1, and I'm shocked. It's incredible that I still think to this day YouTube did the best season. I love the relationships, the surprise of Robbie being the son, the Miguel out of nowhere being the best character. Even you guys saying that and telling me, and I'm like, who's Miguel? What are you talking about? It's like, no, he's the greatest. Number 1, for sure. Then I would go 4. Again, my only worries about that season were that this season that we got, we were going to lose Miguel. We didn't, so season 4 is great. It had the most of the teaching of the kids and a showdown with a tournament. For me, a Karate Kid has to end with a tournament, 1 and 4. Then I'll do 5, 3, 2. I'll say 2 bottom, same as you.
That's probably my exact ranking too, actually, now that I think of it. That's a solid ranking.
Do your ranking real quick, Mike, and then I'll give my final thoughts before you give yours.
Yeah, I might just steal your ranking too, because 1 is the best. It's front loaded because they can put the most kind of impactful, direct callbacks. For what if
Best
Miyagi
Johnny
was
season.
Johnny? Right, done. Right.
Yeah.
But then I agree 4, because the tournament at the end of 4 is the most accurate depiction of a karate tournament that's ever been on film. Like normally they're
Carrie
so
Underwood.
over the
Girls
top.
and boys will be in it. Yes, and Carrie Underwood, of course.
There'll be
And,
skills
you know,
competitions.
We'll do,
Not just
weapons.
fighting. Yeah. Like, oh, wow.
Right. You
Yeah,
can't
and it
just
had
skip the
Terry
whole
Silver.
tournament like in
No.
Karate Kid 3.
No, no.
As the winner, you defend your title. No.
Who did you bribe? Yeah. So 1, 4, 5
1,
because
4,
more Terry
5,
Silver.
3, 2.
Yeah.
3, 2. Yeah.
Yes,
Easy.
yes.
That's the perfect ranking.
That's the perfect ranking.
We will not be
Normies, check it
challenged
out.
on this. 1, 4, 5, 3, 2.
My final thoughts on it. Look, I'll go back to the roots thing and just say it is crazy that Karate Kid. I said it in our first episode that I think the first movie should be shown in schools. I will repeat that line every time. I don't say that about other movies. You know, I don't think that they should show Citizen Kane to high school kids. That would truly do nothing for them. Show them Karate Kid, teach them history, teach them to be good people, show them a good movie. The thing that they say about roots in this, the line of like, you know, well, just the sentimentality of, again, what Mr. Miyagi, what Pat Morita, the memory of him, God bless, and the memory of Mr. Miyagi is to all these people is that he was such a strong foundation of doing one kind thing to a person and just instilling in them, do the kind thing for nothing, don't expect anything out of it, just try to be a good person and spread that out, does make those roots. And that roots are all the people that they touch. It's literally everyone who watches that final fight scene are the beautiful roots and payoff of that. And they're going to go on and do good things. And I want to live my life that way. And I want to tell my children to live their lives that way. And I think that Karate Kid and God bless it, this series, Netflix's Cobra Kai, which again can be a little soap opera-y, little teenage drama-y, maybe not the best acting, but puts so much heart forward, respects the property so much, has some clever writing. Again, goes for the idea of you don't need to be a star. These people in this universe meant so much to people. Let's embrace that. I love that. And it is so singular. It is so one of a kind that God bless this series. I love it.
Yeah.
That's extremely well put, Colin. And I think my final thoughts are going to tie into that too. Is, we talked about every callback, every actor that they bring back and how they're able to do it. And the one actor that you can't, is unfortunately Pat Morita, and he is, the heartbeat of the Karate Kid universe from the first movie on, like you said. And the idea that a movie that had such an impact on me, right, in my life generally, has, again, created this show that's now introducing new people to the legacy of Miyagi and the way that Miyagi is treated and so revered as a character in this show, of the moral focal point, the moral center, and to get that message out kind of as the main theme. That's awesome. That's awesome. that it's doing that, like fictitiously as much as it's doing it like in real life. You know what I mean? Spreading the awareness to the characters in the show and people out there watching at home about kind of the legacy of that character. One of the greatest characters in fiction, in my opinion, is Mr. Miyagi, and I could do a whole video essay about why he's important. You know, like the 440
Every
second.
season should end with them panning to a picture of Pat Morita.
He should just appear as a Force ghost, right? If this is Star Wars.
Don't do that, Disney. That'll be mad.
If you did the Johnny, you should also put in a Pat Morita.
Yeah.
Then I would not like the show anymore. But I do like when they go see like his room with the picture of his wife and like the idea of this. The idea of this character, who is a Japanese American, who is a veteran in World War II, who fought for America despite the internment stuff that America did to Japanese American citizens. Fucked up, right? Like that's just that alone. And they were going to cut that scene, and it got him the Oscar nomination. And it's like there's so much depth. It's not just goofy karate man. Like he is like this deep feeling father figure who wanted to teach Daniel and had a hole in his life. And the idea that that's affected Daniel, you know, like I said, and it's being spread down. The strong root is Pat Morita, is Mr. Miyagi, and to keep that as the heart through 5 seasons of the show, you know, respect, because that's really what it's about. And I think they're doing good to honor both the actor and the character with the way they kind of revere the teachings and display them in the show. So that's where I'm at.
Totally.
Great work.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I agree with you there.
Well,
do we know if our beloved John G. Avildsen is still alive? Does he like come back to direct any of these episodes or anything?
I wonder.
I'm not sure about that. Yeah.
Or the writer, Mark Robert Kane or whatever.
Well, and obviously getting producer credits every episode. So we know he is there in some capacity.
No, sorry,
but I bet
2017.
John G. Avildsen's dead. Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yep. Well,
thank you for Rocky and Karate Kid.
Yeah, man. But again, a 5-season Rocky show? No. Even if it was the plot of
show
Creed
with
season
Michael
1.
Jordan.
No, even
well,
then,
it would be the same
even
framework where it's like Stallone's teaching him, and then Drago's teaching somebody. You know.
Yeah, it would. It would be that truncated. They would. They
Bring Mr.
would have
T
jumped
in.
to that exactly.
Yeah, Carl Weathers is teaching somebody.
Actually, I run a furniture store now, and we're best friends.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Right.
I own a church. It's called Apollo's Creed. Anyway.
Oh, Mike, it's so good. Anyways, that's not the movie we talked. The one we talked was Karate Kid, which turned into the series we love, Cobra Kai here. We just talked about the 5th season. We said it. We have 4 other episodes, I believe, of or this is the 4th episode of Karate Kid content on this podcast. So normies, I would urge you, go back and listen to those other ones. And if you don't, if for whatever reason you listen to this whole episode and you don't watch Cobra Kai, you're a psychopath, and watch it. And if you have young people in your life, if you have kids, if you're like a 40-year-old person listening to this and you have like a 13-year-old and they don't watch this, I'm about to make you the hero of your fucking household. Turn this on their iPad.
First. Watch the 3 movies. And
No. I like this.
I don't think for this generation. I don't think you do that. I think you
because like you said,
their iPad. I think you
would
turn
show
on
the first
the
movie.
maybe the first season, right? You just like, this is a show. This is cool. You let them watch a couple. They come out of their room smelling like weed smoke. Yo, Dad, I watched that Cobra Kai show you told me about. It was really cool. Huge suck on their vape, and you go like, that's cool. Dresephifor or whatever dumbass name kids have now. Those were actually movies when I was a young man. What if we watch those tonight? Yo, I'm going bowling with Hector, but I guess I could watch one of them, Pops.
But I do think, you can watch the show without seeing the movies, but definitely if you watch the movies, it adds a lot of depth to the show.
I almost like to look at it like, because they're old now to the people you'd introduce it to. So be like, hey, watch the show. And then do you want to see the Terry Silver prequel? Do you want to see the Chozen prequel? Do you want to see the Daniel, Johnny prequel?
What were those like insert clips that they were like putting in where like Terry had black hair?
Were those deep fakes?
Like CGI?
We'll watch the prequel. I mean, let me throw it in. Yeah. I got a DVD. Yeah, that's great. Definitely. Watch the movies. Do it. Watch it all. Do it.
Please do it now.
Fear does not exist in this podcast. No mercy.
No, it doesn't. This podcast has strong roots. It will continue to thrive. And it will do so by you listeners. We love you. hit us up at Normies_like_us. That's our dojo. That's where you would go to receive our training. And you would do that by leaving a comment, liking, subscribing, all that good stuff that helps us out. And check out our YouTube page as well.
Yes,
That's right.
Like the pod. Sub the YouTube,
Yes.
you know?
And we'll
Classic
send you a
training.
bonsai. Like the pod. And as our business, we sell cars. That scene where the guy walks in and goes, does anybody sell cars here? I'm trying to buy a car.
Yeah, they do
Made
it.
the series for me.
Incredible.
But we've been your hosts. This is Karate Colin.
Mike, Karate's Bad Boy Barnes.
This is Sensei Jacob, the mongoose.
No
This is
mercy.
Sensei now. No mercy. All right.
I'm
Wow.
a sensei.
Number one in the valley.
Karate on, normies.
Karate on. Kia.
That's what they're always saying.
Bye.
Bye.